In this video, I'll show you how to use a suborbital rocket flight simulator that lets you predict the trajectory of a rocket and compare it to flight data from a real flight, Blue Origin's NS-25, flown on by Science Buddies founder Ken Hess. The simulation is built into the Science Buddies website with fully editable code that you can use to change things like the rocket's mass, thrust, and drag coefficient to see how these parameters affect the simulation results. For example, I can increase the rocket's dry mass to simulate a heavier rocket with a bigger payload, and rerun the simulation to see how this affects the simulated trajectory, including the rocket's maximum altitude or apogee, maximum velocity, and maximum acceleration. If you'd like to get started using the simulation right away, you can find a link to it along with the written instructions in the description below this video. If you'd like to learn more about the math and physics behind how the simulation works, keep watching for more of an explanation. To start, here's our rocket. Our goal is to produce a simulation or mathematical prediction of the rocket's altitude versus time during its flight. So as you saw in the simulation at the beginning of the video, we want a graph that looks like this, with altitude in meters on the y-axis and time in seconds on the x-axis. We can then plot the result of our simulation and compare that to recorded altitude data from a real flight. If our simulation is accurate, then it should match the real flight pretty well. So, how do we predict the rocket's altitude? If you've taken a physics class, then you may be familiar with Newton's second law of motion, which states that the net force on an object is equal to its mass times its acceleration. So, we can rearrange that equation and say that if we know the net force acting on an object and its mass, then we can calculate its acceleration. We also know from physics that acceleration is equal to a change in velocity over a change in time. If you've taken a calculus class, then you know that acceleration is what's called the derivative of velocity. Here, this triangle symbol is the Greek letter delta, which means change. And this means that if we know some object's initial velocity at a point in time, v sub I for initial, we can calculate its final velocity sometime later by adding the acceleration, assuming the acceleration is constant, times the change in time to the initial velocity. But we don't want to produce a graph of the rocket's velocity, we want a graph of its altitude, which is a distance. So we can apply this concept one more time. We know that velocity is a change in distance over a change in time. So again, if we know an object's initial position at some point in time, we can calculate its final position sometime later by adding the velocity times the change in time, again assuming the velocity is constant over that time interval. For a rocket, we know the initial conditions, or how the rocket starts out, at rest on the launch pad. So the initial distance or altitude is 0, and the initial velocity is also 0. If we can find the acceleration, then we can move forward one tiny step in time to calculate the new velocity and calculate the new distance. We can then repeat this process over and over again, each time using our current velocity and position as the initial conditions to calculate the next step. This technique is called the Euler method. There's just one problem. To use this method, we need to calculate the acceleration at each point in time. And to find the acceleration, we need to know the net force acting on the rocket and its mass. This is where the rocket science part comes in. Normally, especially when you take an introductory physics class, the force and mass of an object are both constant. However, for a rocket, they're both changing. Let's take a look at the forces acting on the rocket and discuss this in a little more detail. We're going to assume purely vertical motion of the rocket and ignore any potential motion in the horizontal direction. First, we have the thrust. This is the upward reaction force acting on the rocket as a result of the engine expelling exhaust out the bottom of the rocket. The basic model in the code on the Science Buddies website treats the thrust like it's constant for a certain amount of time until main engine cutoff, when it then drops to 0 for the rest of the flight. However, real flights can have a more complicated thrust profile, for example, scaling back the thrust at certain points during the flight before again dropping to 0 during the main engine cutoff. Next we have weight, or the downward force acting on the rocket due to gravity. Weight is equal to mass times the acceleration due to gravity g, which at the surface of the Earth is 9.81 meters per second squared. This value does decrease slightly with altitude, but more importantly, the rocket's mass changes as it burns fuel. So if we look at a graph of the rocket's mass versus time, it may look something like this, where the rocket starts out at some initial mass, which includes the dry mass of the rocket plus the mass of all the fuel. As it burns fuel, the mass decreases, again until main engine cutoff, where the mass now remains constant, including the dry mass of the rocket and any remaining fuel reserved for landing. This straight line represents a constant fuel burn rate, which roughly corresponds to a constant thrust. However, again, a real rocket flight might have a different thrust profile, where, for example, it scales back the thrust by temporarily reducing the fuel burn rate, which would result in a different shape for this graph of mass versus time. Next, we have the drag force acting on the rocket, or air resistance. This force always acts opposite the direction of motion. So when the rocket is going up, the drag force acts down, and when the rocket is coming back down, the drag force acts up. The drag force is defined by the equation F drag equals 1/2 rho, which is the density of air, times the velocity of the rocket squared, times CD, which is the rocket's drag coefficient that depends on its shape, times A, which is the cross-sectional area of the rocket perpendicular to the direction of flow. Now, for an object moving at what we would consider normal speeds relatively close to the surface of the Earth, many of these parameters are constant. However, a rocket is moving very fast at very high altitudes as it goes up through the atmosphere. So the density of the air decreases dramatically, and technically the drag coefficient also changes as the rocket approaches and exceeds supersonic speeds, or going faster than the speed of sound. It turns out that you can still get a reasonably good approximation by assuming a constant drag coefficient and using a simplified model of how air density varies with altitude. You can read more details about that in the code in the project on the Science Buddies website. Now that you've seen the physics, maybe you can go back to the simulation with a better understanding of what the variables for different physical parameters mean and what effects they should have on the simulation. You should also read the comments in the code for more details about some of the things that we didn't go over in this video, like the model for atmospheric density. You can also think about whether changes to some of the variables physically make sense. For example, maybe it's realistic to expect a 10% increase in thrust from a new and improved rocket engine, but increasing the thrust by a factor of 10 for the same fuel burn rate probably isn't realistic. There are also parameters you can enter that might just not make physical sense and possibly break the simulation, for example, like typing in a negative number for gravity or the drag coefficient. If the simulation crashes or stops working, just refresh the page to get back to the default values. There are many other things you can do with this project that we won't go over in detail in this video, but there are many suggestions in the variations section of the written instructions, which again are linked in the description below this video. For this and over 1,000 other projects in all areas of science and engineering, check out our website, www.sciencebuddies.org.